say hi to everyone. Just to clarify, I'm teaching that governing in digital age, and in my day to day, I also teach in undergraduate and postgraduate around digital economy, also doing managing digital systems, and most recently is decision making for innovation. So anything to do with innovation and technology, it's my passion. So thank you so much for the kind introduction, Art, and it's a privilege to be part of this very highly esteemed guests, all of you here and all the speakers. I would like to say to you, all of you, thank you so much for inviting me. And I do love to say that make connections, make friends, create stories. I think that's a brilliant tagline, Art, and I do want to start with that actually today. So I'll start sharing my screen before I start presenting, so that I can also share my sound. Share it now. I'll get that. Oops, there you go. Just let me know if you can't see my screen. Just want to make sure that you got that. All good? All right.
Oh, good.
Sorry, I can't see my screen anymore for some reason. So I can see I can't see you all. So that's probably because I have my full screen mode. All right. So Bud actually asked me to mentor a program, and I thought, well, you know, I told him immediately as soon as he told me about his projects, like I love what he does, and that's because I've been doing that myself. Like I want to create stories out of AI. I use AI, GPT in particular, every day now, and for me, I do want to share with you that journey of how I did it and what I use it for nowadays. And that's the outline of my talk is basically first is talk about where things are at the moment in my view of AI. So when we talk about AI, what do I see it, and then secondly, and then I'll talk about what is the challenges around AI as it is now and in the future. And finally, I'll share with you some of the strategy around what I think how Australia and Indonesia can work together. And I do want to make sure that I don't speak with my academic hat on, but you will see a bit of my research in there today as well. So hopefully you all will enjoy the topic today that I'll present. All right, let me start with the journey because this one is started when I thought to myself, all right, I want to create story, and everyone here probably know what I'm talking about here, right? It's Star Wars. And if you're like me, you probably know why I do this because Star Wars Episode 8 was, in my opinion, is really bad. It killed my most favorite character. My most beloved character is Luke Skywalker, and it was not a good story in my opinion. Like, excuse me for those that actually love the Episode 8. I think it just deviates too much from what I know the character. So, because of that, I said to myself, okay, I want to create the story myself. So I went to ChatGPT saying, well, can you write me a better storyline of Star Wars 8 movie? And by the way, I'm happy to share this if you're interested. I can share with you the link for this. But so it started off. This is, by the way, I was in a restaurant with my family, and I was just like, I was just having a conversation with my daughter who also loves Star Wars, like me. And it's like, oh, by the way, I can ask GPT to help to rewrite that Episode 8. And then I started off, just even talking about if you know the story a bit, then you know that the story you talk about, in the final scene, the resistance is seen as regrouping, but Rey realizes the true battle between light and dark sides is just, and the force is just beginning. I was like, that's a lot better than what Episode 8 was. It actually literally finished off with nothing to look forward to. And I was like, well, let me change it to more like gritty and building a climactic next episode of the ninth movie. And you can see here that it changes the narrative from finishing all that and even going to say here, just highlight that the movie ends with the resistance disarray, the Jedi Order shattered, and the galaxy plunged into darkness. And the epic showdown between Rey and Kylo Ren. Sorry if you don't know any of these characters, just these are the two main characters. Then the battle will be decided. I was like, well, again, I really like that. And then I keep on asking about, how can we adapt it to have a better role for Luke Skywalker as he was discovered from his exile at the beginning of the movie, right? Then, there is that adaptation around how Luke is teaching Rey. I was like, what a dream, because it didn't happen in episode 8, as you know. It was basically just he doesn't even want to help. He doesn't even want to come to fight. He just sent his force. Sorry for breaking all the story for those who haven't watched it. Um, and I said, well, it's almost there. I like it. Let me then connecting it with 7th and towards the ninth movie. Now, there's another hint, folks. Episode 8 was basically, you can just erase it. It wouldn't matter because it doesn't even connect with the 7th. It doesn't even connect with the ninth. So might as well just do it a better way, right? So it did it for me. I was like, oh my goodness. It even talks about, how Rey is accompanied by Chewbacca, the most beloved character. The R2D2 find uh, Luke Skywalker, and then it links that, and as you know, it links the climactic battle. And anyways, I just like, oh my gosh, I love that. And just like, well, I don't want to be too similar with the original one because it's too similar with the original movie. So let's change something about it. And all right, understood. Here's the adaptation. Anyways, and then I even said reset. I don't like it at all. I like it to change completely. And then by the time that it does that, and it does that, so like this particular story has now nothing to do with the original story. It becomes a lot more creative, and I would say even better than the original script, I would say. I dare to say that, by the way, because I am a diehard fan. So when I saw that, it's just like I showed that to my daughter, and she's like, "You got the story." I like that sort of reaction. That's what I mean by make friends, right? I was like, wow. It's like the final battle. Luke Skywalker faces off Kylo in a dramatic lightsaber duel. Didn't happen. So I would like to see that. And then the movie ends with Rey continuing her training and preparing for the final conflict. I was like, wow, right? What a nice storyline. And I even then asked, can you make it into the script and the soundtrack? In other words, is let me just recreate the whole movie. I'm sure you are by now convinced that I can do that better with GPT. I can beat, you know, all the original story writers now. That was a joke, by the way. And then I just basically say here, it even has the soundtrack and everything. And I just said, I love the script. Let's do that. And I even talk about, okay, let me just say, can we just change into a script? You see that? It's like it even make the conversations. It's like, look, be careful, Ray. The path to dark side is easy to follow, but difficult to come back from. And Ray just, I won't fail you, Master Skywalker. Oh my gosh, what a line! I thought. And it's like, oh my gosh, all right. So I love that. And I said, well, I want Luke to live for the next movie because he died. Okay, so that really annoys me, and I want to change that. So you keep on changing. So I'll skip all that. And you know what is really cool about it? I even have the whole thing. I even have the opening crawl. Yeah, I'm a bit of a geek. You can tell by now. I love my Star Wars, so I want to make it perfect. And even have Act One, Act Two. Let's create an epic movie action. So they even talk about the specific movie score that can be put there, and I want to put some potential battles in the script. I thought I want to start with all that, folks, today because I want to tell you today, it didn't end there. My journey with AI, it didn't quite finish there, because I hope that you can still see my screen because I created a music based on AI as well, based on all the scripts, by the way. So this is, you probably can feel the familiarity with the Star Wars movie. That's just, I describe how I want it to be using VTV as well. And to close it off, I thought I want a soundtrack that even has a lyric, and it did it for me. So watch this, by the way.
On the raging ocean clash, waves are wild, the night is ash.
I hope that you got you got the gist, folks. I really thought that it was just fascinating to be able to see how much that AI potentially can reshape the whole thing with regards to how we tell our story. So I was like, okay, let me start with that by saying now you know why I love this particular project that Bart started and why I'm so grateful to be part of this. And I do want to connect with you beyond this presentation today. I do want to make sure that I'm part of this community and I'm a big champion in terms of Bart's creation. So I want to keep on saying, this is my way of getting this started with him. And, I do want to see this thriving and hopefully this will go somewhere because it's a very interesting way of connecting the two nations, i.e. in international relations, which I'm sure Faris will talk more about this. All right, so let me then put back on my head as, the brief is about the future of AI. And let me just start by talking about what I feel the future based on what I've actually drawn since 2016. So you probably wonder, why am I showing you an old slide for a new topic called Future of AI? Well, I'm just telling you today that my future prediction already happened and more. So what I'm trying to say here is that you probably can understand what I'm trying to show here to you all today. Just trying to find my pointer. Okay, so I'll put my pointer here with you. So you probably know that in terms of, okay, so in terms of where AI is what I call about connecting all the sensors. It can connect data together and it can do all the important things around how can we create analytics out of that. So from sensing about home and personal, we can understand how people are uh, affected by the sound, by the noise level, I should say, and the temperature and all these various things. And if you want to create a story about it, I can tell you today that this is a day of my personal data there. It probably is a bit too small for you to see, but you can probably see here. This is the part where I was active. I was doing some hiking. That is a story on its own. Imagine if you have that and plus all the information about animal, tree, soil, you name it, all the environment, right? We can use sensors now to explain about the pollution level. I was just in Jakarta 2 weeks ago, and I was a bit struggling, to be honest, with the pollution in Jakarta, and it looked a bit like that. Not as bad, by the way, but it was close enough to that. And I thought, well, I miss this place where I can just, enjoy the scenery of mountains. So I did go to my hometown in Surabaya after that, and I do enjoy that. So that was fantastic. So I went to Griffith, right? So I just enjoy all that. Imagine you have all that, and then we've got all the information about certain environments, like for example, whether it is the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, or it is a shop in London, where it is in an office somewhere, whether it is in an airport. We bring all that into pervasive interfaces where it could be something as cool as that Minority Report transparent screen with your hand gesture, and you can play with it and you can interact with it, or it's something that is an augmented reality, something that looks like the Apple Vision Pro, for example. By the way, this was a picture from HoloLens, so a Microsoft product, not the Apple. And you can guess this one is the smart glass by Google. And I thought, well, how about that? And at the end of the day, it's about people connecting with people, people connecting with social media, and connecting through stories. And stories are created on a daily basis because guess what? Everyone wants to share about them now. And whether it is at work, whether it is at personal life, whether it is while they're socializing, whether they're eating food, finding new restaurants, there's so much stories. And in fact, I tell you that a lot of my spare time is already gone on YouTube because of all these contents. And you can only imagine that if you have all that and you use machine learning, computer vision, all these buzzwords is basically all I want to say is any contents now you can now create knowledge out of it and you can share that very easily. And now GPT is enabling you to do that. You can generate video, images, text, you name it. Now you can create even music. I just show you one, right? And I just did it 5 minutes before I went to this room with you all. So it's not that taking that long anymore. It's just mind-boggling. In fact, it took me more time to create this whole diagram, then my entire Star Wars story and music and everything. So yeah, that's as crazy as it is sound now. Basically, AI is just enabling us to create stuff rapidly, and just amazing what you can do with it. And because of that, I immediately want to just talk about then a project that I do now, and this is coming from the fact that Indonesia love coffee as well now. I think a lot of Australian uh, who comes to Jakarta would be very surprised because, or Bali or Surabaya, because I only know there's three cities. Sorry, apologies. I haven't been to a lot of other places, but coffee is everywhere. Like I said, coffee, not like instant coffee, no, real coffee. So I thought, like, well, would you imagine having a system here that we can track from the farm and production, the processing, the export import, the roasting, to the retailer, to the consumption. If you think about all that, all the data that we can generate, we can track it. And you know what it could be then if you are having a coffee of Australian origin, for example, you will know how the farm is tracking data of the temperature that leads into the quality of the cup itself. You know what it looks like in terms of the how the production in terms of the soil characteristics. You know, because that's what makes the flavor of the coffee and makes it distinctive. And what is really interesting out of all that, folks, we can even talk about how the coffee was processed. We can see the temperature where it was where it was washed, when it was dying. It was like basically how it was basically being dried, not dying there. So obviously there, it's all misspelled, and I'll tell you why in a moment. And then obviously then the roasting profile itself, you can see how it was created, what was the origin, and how did it turn into a particular batch, and what is the coffee that I'm drinking now? Why is it tasting so great? And it reminds me of Australia, for example, Brisbane, my hometown, and you'll be like, wow, wonderful, you know. Then that basically is the project that can be done. And all I want to say to you is today, before I move to the next screen, is all of these were created by AI. So these four slides that I should show you, one, two, three, four, are all done by AI. And it took me 2 hours to generate that, to precisely talk about a project that could be done with you around how can we create story about how coffee is made from the production to the cup itself, and how do we create stories out of that? Stories about sustainability practice, story about fairness for like the profit sharing, like so that the farmers are not suffering, for example. What about the story around to make sure that what does it mean by the production that is fair in terms of also to the soil? They're not over capitalizing and cutting a lot of trees and these sort of things. So that's just a brilliant story to tell to our next generation when it comes to building a sustainable coffee. All right, so then I move on to the more serious stuff now. So we all know by now that AI is powerful, but there's a lot of challenges that we need to look at. And this is where I feel that there are bilateral values and relationships that we can build so that we understand by creating AI, by using AI to create stories in these stories.ai, then we become more aware of what is going on with AI. What can we do with it? How much we can do with it, right? By understanding that, then that means we can look at the risk of AI as a team, as friends. We can have the very candid conversation around how it now widen the existing gaps. Because if people are still worried about, by the way, I was really surprised now that smartphone and tablet is the way to go, right? Now, no more about people don't even know how to use computers. My sister still don't know how to operate a laptop, by the way. She still hates it until today, despite my tutoring all the time, but she eventually still now master her phone. She can use her phone, there's no issue. She can use tablets, there's no problem, right? But what about AI? AI will just widen the gaps even further. People would not even know, like for example, my sisters don't even know what we're talking about. What are you talking about? It's like ChatGPT. What is that? It sounds very gimmicky. It sounds very foreign to me. And I keep on telling her how important it is, right? So if we're not careful, everyone here knows that AI will just transform the whole thing about human. What can you do? So we call it now human-only tasks will soon be outperformed. There is an so therefore there is an urgent need for ethical, fair, and transparent guidelines, right? Because we cannot displace jobs, nor we penalize for those that cannot use AI to increase their productivity. So how can we make sure that AI is not severely disadvantaging people that don't even know what AI and how to use AI? So therefore, there is this question around how can we understand also through creating stories together, we understand the pace of AI development. Can you really understand what's going on with AI? Can you make a story out of that? Can you talk about how AI has developed in the last 5 years? And I can tell you that the quickest thing I've ever seen is what's going on right now in the last 2 years. So last year, I thought Nvidia share will go by double, and how wrong I was. Now it's already 4 times and even more now because everyone is now using AI. Everyone wants to use large language modeling. Everyone wants a piece of AI, and the question here is how the organizational now is not ready, individuals are not ready, the regulations are insufficient, and there is no leveling playing field here. There is uneven playing field. The the one that already knows really well and those that actually don't know at all. And that is why something as casual as storytelling and story creation, making friendships like what Pod is doing here, I think it's just brilliant because it makes sure that how about if we all just understand more about it, like do something simple, just use ChatGPT to use and create stories together that at least that gives you that leveling the playing field. No longer we are divided by the for example, we are no longer about Australia or Indonesia. We just hear about the story. People love Star Wars like me. Let's keep on generating Star Wars stories. For those who are, into other movies or other topics, even kids, I actually wanted to show you today, but because of time, I can't. But if you like to create a children's storybook, I've already done that as well. So there's a lot of things we can do through the use of AI. And obviously, I've also done a lot of ideation for other things like movie scripts and things like that, and music and things like that. So you definitely want to create a lot of things using it. And this is a way for us using your creativity to disrupt your I would say AI knowledge gap. Now, I call it disrupt because I do want to make sure that everyone, by the end of doing all that, they will understand that there is this inclusive growth, sustainable development, and well-being, meaning that people are, friendship actually increase our well-being, right? And we also have these human-centered values and fairness, transparency, and explainability. Being very transparent, right? I told you already when I and where I used AI and how I used it. I could claim it all is mine, but should we? We must not ever do that, right? We need to be very transparent where we actually use. We need to also explain it. And that's why I show you the way that I collaborated with AI, with ChatGPT in the case. And I also happily share with you how I generated that music and everything. So I'm happy to share that because it's now a very much in a spirit of explainability. How did I get there? Just be very transparent about it. And let's not be judgmental about it. Like a lot of my colleagues and friends here are very scared of being judged. For example, oh, isn't it cheating? Oh, isn't it? Oh, whoa, whoa. That sort of, wait a moment. I don't want you to take our job here. I can create music. Don't take that away from me. But hey, I mean, this is the future. It's already happening. So that robustness and accountability and the security and safety means also that the privacy, what about the copyright? I purposely show you about that Star Wars stuff because it looked eerily too similar to the original content. And who holds the copyright now? There's a lot of issues. So, folks, I use that all those with discretion that I put a disclaimer that I don't want to own anything out of that because I literally don't own any of those contents. I think it was all generated based on the contents that are readily available out there. And you probably can guess why ChatGPT has been sued multiple times by now. Because where are the contents that has been used from copyrighted materials? It's very critical. So In summary, some of the various things about AI is all about machine intelligence. It's about being able to process information, to read, listen, observe, synthesize it, represent it into knowledge. It can plan and execute actions for you. You can reason, you can make decisions with it, you can predict, you can anticipate. You can also learn and make it autonomous, completely just learning. And it is just amazing what it means by being able to do all those and become even more autonomous and learn through the logic, the context, the rules, the law, and becoming even more so close to what it could be, making sure that AI is becoming even more intelligent than humans' cognitive function, which is quite limited in that regard. We all know how much computer can do very fast computing, calculation of maths, for example. More so now, you can tell that creating a story and writing an idea together is much quicker using AI. So where is the future in our work? So I would like to highlight here. If you say no to AI, stop it. I think we've heard that even Elon Musk actually did try to stop the growth of open AI. But I think we can't do that because we have to face reality. Because the fact of the matter is, AI is now faster than ever. And Nvidia, which is like the AI chips and everything, the fact that the share becomes like skyrocketed is a great evidence of what's going on right now, essentially. And I want you to understand that rather than fighting it, there is another notion, which is human machine collaboration. At the very least, we want to involve human in the design and evaluation processes. So we maintain a supervisory role of the autonomous system. Secondly, we want to make sure that we borrow something which is a gold standard when it comes to data use, GDPR. Human beings have the right not to solely be subjected to automated decisions, especially when such decisions have legal ramification, because AI systems have no moral authority and they cannot be held accountable in terms of judicial decisions and judgments. I think I would like to highlight all that. And at the end of the day, then how can we create responsible AI implementation framework? So this is actually a working paper that I published in Archive. And I just simply say here, basically, you can plan and design the ecosystem. So if you want to work on the future of AI together, let's say you suddenly say to Fad and others here, to Faris, for example, say, well, why don't we do a new AI system to create a story, right? And help the humanity. So I'm just looking at this in the chat by Ado. How can we, how can AI help humanity in developing ideas, creating stories, bridging the gaps faster than ever? Well, you probably can see, right, that through the use of various tools, now you can even create the blueprint of music, and you can send it to a music generator, and it will understand. So the AI talk to another AI is another possibility. But there is this thing that now there is this I told you about colleagues, right? And I wanted to be very implicit, but I think I'll be very explicit today, that there is now a divide between what is acceptable and what is the responsible use of AI. The use of any use of essay, for example, assignment writing and all this. Absolutely, I'm with you. And I want to tell you today that as a professor, that also have an assignment for my students on an essay. I told my students that I don't want to stop them using it, but use it responsibly. And I tell them I'm a master of using GPT, so don't try to trick me into reading a pure GPT writing, because I will definitely know, and therefore they will be penalized for that. And what is the point of you giving away your job to AI? And that scares me enough, right? So they actually now work better with AI, and yeah, I definitely want to work with them on that. And likewise, when it comes to the comment by Lucia here, for example, around Elon Musk changing that whole thing around, how AI, is controlled by a small number of people, influential people, and they control that. Well, it is definitely then up to us as the users, and we call it this responsible implementation framework. And why I take these questions now is because this is exactly what I want to talk about, right? So imagine we have the system. This is why open AI, folks, is an issue right now. Let me just tell you, quite frankly, now, because it started off very open, and now it's pretty close, in my opinion, because you don't even know what data they use. Did the data custodians agree that the data has been used for ChatGPT? Did they actually get copyright in materials? What about sensitive information? What about private information? What about the chat that you have? You generate a lot of ideas through ChatGPT, then it will also be used, right? Oh, so the question that I want to say to you all here is exactly that. So how do we then create an ecosystem where we plan and design the ecosystem that involve everyone? So this is co-creation where all players are together across all the process. Because let's say this, the biggest enemy of any innovation is disclosure. We call it the biggest enemy because when you innovate, you don't want to disclose, right? You want to be secretive about it. You don't want people to know. But the question is, if you do that, then how can you have that initial trust formation? And if you do that and you maintain that secrecy, how can you ever maintain a continuous trust development? It won't happen. And unfortunately, this is what is going on right now, is that the way that AI is implemented is too secretive. Open AI is just like become like, whoop. We can create robots. It can create now even ChatGPT 4.0 that can talk like even better than Siri. It sounded more like a Scarlett Johansson's movie, right? It just, voice, I should say, and it's just crazy. Like I feel that the way that AI is moving right now, personally speaking, again, I'm just going to tell you today that my personal opinion on this is that I think it's time to be more responsible when it comes to the actual implementation. So don't release product unless you are clear what it means by governing AI as an augmented intelligence. So because if we're not careful, people will be dependent on it. So for me, I told my students, I will not stop you from using ChatGPT. I will not stop you from using AI in general. I even show them that very slides I showed you earlier. And I show them how I use GPT, for example. But I tell them that's the future. The future here is that you are the next generation. How can you work better? How can you make human AI collaboration better? And how can you not become the subjected victim of it, right? And this comments around what if we provide data, but let AI form the argument for us. Is that still human AI collaboration? This is where I cannot answer that just yet, right? Because what it means by human AI collaboration will be evolving as we speak, as what this diagram is talking about, because everything is evolving around continuous trust development. So to me, the initial thing about OpenAI, folks, the ChatGPT was really cool. I trusted immediately because like, wow, this is powerful until I saw something better. So it's called Perplexity AI because it shows me the sources of which how it answers the question. It processes information very clearly and even asks what is the focus of it and become more transparent of what it does when it comes to the answer. OpenAI, on the other hand, I trust it less and less now because I tell you something, a product called, not the product, a subpart of the the GPT assistant called Scholarly GPT. If you try to create a research paper and then you actually just saw, wow, that looks fantastic. Now, can you show me all the references? You know what it does? It will just hallucinate over the references. The author looks real. The journal title looks real. The title looks really convincing. Even the details of the journal looks really cool. And you know what, for Fadis here from the fellow university, a friend here, a colleague here, you would be very scared that all those are actually not real. I've tried it myself. I've tested it. I looked at it. I searched patiently from all my databases and even Google Scholar and everything, found nothing of that paper. So voila. So we cannot rely on GPT. If we're not careful, we will be subject and a victim to a very unresponsible implementation. And excuse me for saying all that because I'm an academic, so I have no bearing in terms of the commercial interest or anything like that. So I'm very unbiased towards that. So all I care is now how we protect the interests of human in general, right? So for me, for sustainable AI, meaning that AI that can be sustained over time, it needs to be very much driven by ethical requirements. It needs to have process controls and governance. It needs to have engineering that is ethical. That is also the AI business itself has to be ethical. What about even the enterprise AI systems have to be transparent algorithms for business requirements, for example. So in other words, we need to educate everyone around this through educational tools for ethical AI engineers, for ethical AI business leaders, and ethical AI enterprise systems that want to create AI for business purposes. So I'm really passionate about this, folks. I really think that everyone here needs to understand that we are still a long way to go when it comes to sustainable AI. We saw an amazing, basically runway of flying with to the moon, so to speak. X is intended, right? Because as you know, Elon Musk is going to the moon. That was his project, right, with the X. And all I want to say is now AI is literally that, unfortunately, and we don't want that. We want to be staying grounded by that. Now, so what is the strategy? Let me just finish off with a few more slides, and then, by the way, I'm sure that there will be more conversations about this. And I do feel that through the questions that has been asked so far in the chat, that you are very engaged already with the topic. So let me tell you, if you want to know more about strategy around AI, you can learn from the top nations in the world. And through my research, USA, China, UK, Canada, Germany, India, Singapore, France, Japan, Italy, Espanol, Spain, Australia, Korea, and Netherlands. You can learn from that. And I look at the national strategy for AI, and I can tell you that the top priorities is always about data because it's all about the data. So others point about consenting around the use of AI is super crucial. So data sharing for balance between public and social good and privacy governance is a huge issue at the moment. And you can see that USA is one of the largest contributor when it comes to the amount of time that it's mentioned in their strategy. So this is all collectively, you can see data sharing and of course, data collaborations and data quality. These three are the top three things about strategy for reshaping our relationship with Australia and Indonesia. Imagine we have an interoperable governance around AI, then the two nations will work better. So this sort of initiative that FAD is doing is just brilliant because we want to see how data sharing, data collaborations, and data quality is used fairly. So to me, I would like to tell you all here that don't worry, I will not put my researcher hat across this because, as I said, when it comes to experimental things, we wanna see it growing. And I'll just lend my views. If you want me to tell you about what is a good and fair use of data, but in general, this story telling is I think I would say is de-risking because you're just playful about your story, right? And you're not going to be worried about your privacy, your personal information, for example. You're not going to be worried about, I want to own the copyright. Hey, come on, this is collaboration, right? For example, I show you that fantastic story of Star Wars 9, sorry, episode 8, which is far better than the original. Yep, that's my opinion. But my daughter agreed with me, so that's enough. As a fellow, friend of Star Wars fan, her rating is enough for me, and because of that, I don't hold any copyright. In fact, USA has been very clear about copyright about AI generated contents. You cannot own the copyright, anyways. So you probably then ask me, what's then the purpose of me sharing stories in this stories.ai, futuries.ai? Well, there is a lot of benefit. It's because you want to build a friendship, you want to create stories together, and it's fun. When imagine you create with me the next story of Back to the Future, maybe we can create another version of classics. Why don't we do that? That would be something I would like to do. I don't want to talk about AI strategy with you, for example. I mean, imagine if I say to you, well, for interest purposes, why don't we create a paper together? You'd be like, sleeping mode, right? But if you create something of your interest, your shared passion, wouldn't it be cool? You can even generate stories around, foodie in Indonesia, mukbang, as we call it, right? And anything that is cool and fun. Please, I think I'd like to see that, and I definitely would like to be part of that. So yeah, and that's what I mean by this sort of de-risking the sharing of data, I think, and also the copyrighted and things like that. So we make sure that you don't share copyrighted information or private confidential data from your companies and things like that. We don't want that. We just want, and we don't need anything which is like to do with non-anonymous stuff. So stay anonymous. It's all good. Like, we can just be very much having fun together as a trusted community. And this is my final few slides. And in terms of where I'm going with the data strategy, folks, today is exactly what I'm trying to do with you all, is we need to start with education and training. So this is actually the journey of AI maturity based on this top nation strategy. So first is the education and training to ensure that you are ready to understand what AI can do. So hopefully I give you a bit of a one-on-one, a bit of a state of what AI could do, and then from there, we can build these partnerships for any innovation. So in this case, you can tell us how is Futuries-AI going to support you? Should we do more with it? What can we do with it? That's called the partnership, right? And then can we build the infrastructure? The data itself is our infrastructure. What about if we start to build now the equivalence of your trustworthy data and AI? You suddenly say, well, I probably will share some of things of around my own data. This is my stories bank that I want to share with people. Why not? Because there is going to be that community impact that will be fantastic. So I would like to say to you today that um, for me, I would like to finish off by saying I come from Future Beacon, Future Initiative, where a world with disability is not a barrier. Led by Professor Elizabeth Kendall, a world-renowned researcher around disability research. I'm actually very privileged part of them. And what I would like to say to you is I'm so, so inspired by working with them for the last 1 year or so, because it's something to do with this, right? Imagine the world where digital become a disability. Imagine if AI becomes a disability. For example, if you are ignorant about AI, you don't even know what it is, you cannot even use it, you cannot even use laptop, you cannot even use ChatGPT. What would the world become for you? Meaning that we as a worker, for example, suddenly work with, it takes us 1 week, it takes them 5 hours to do a research proposal, for example. What about a world where suddenly you realize that to create story, it will take you a day, a week, a year, and suddenly AI can make it into what? Few seconds? What is that going to be? It's a barrier, right? So for me, I would like to tell you today, I would like to come from that perspective, folks, that, why don't we come with a place where everyone is level playing field, everyone understand how to use it. And one thing that I have not been able to cover today is technology for this, for inclusivity. And there's a lot of inclusive technology. For example, now there's a technology to take, people that cannot type, they can speak, it will be type, right? People that cannot see can have a description in audio about what they are seeing in front of them. There are already tools for that. There are also tools for people that have some cognitive disabilities, as well as anything to do with impairments. So if they cannot see clearly, as I said, there will be some AI basically telling them. If they cannot tell stories, AI can also support them. So I see AI as a way to support our cognitive functions. And just to finish off with, before I conclude, basically, I come from the place where we want to do the center of excellence around disrupting disability discrimination. And this is going to be a proposed Australian Research Council center of excellence. And we want to do this, what we call is, how can we use decisions, data, how can we use data to disrupt the representation of disabled people and people with disabilities, I should say, where they want to live, where they play, where they learn, so that everyone is part of fully counted and accepted, and not just accepted, but equal footing with everyone. So I believe in such a world where there is no more barriers between different various type of disabilities, be it social, economic, gender, any of that. We want to see a very equal world, because that is a better world for sure. So some of the takeaways here, I would like to encourage you to visit my paper, from this is a regional outlook which I wrote in 2019 around what do I see as the next AI superpower? Why Australia's regional positioning and global outlook is more so important now to the future of industry. And some of the takeaway points, I hope that I've not taken too much of your time here because I'm very passionate, as I say, about the future of AI is pervasive intelligence systems because AI is already everywhere. It is pervasively embedded in everything, in everywhere. The key is therefore how human and AI collaborate. Now, we have to note that there are a lot of risks of AI. We need to acknowledge that job displacement, uneven playing field, and there is this race between policy and rapidly evolving tech. So, in other words, if for those of you who are from the law and policymakers, you cannot keep up, I'm sure, with the rapidly evolving technology. And finally, this notion about reshaping the Australia-Indonesia relations. How do we do that? By doing this sort of initiative, when we actually can work together with a shared value, with a very good knowledge exchange, with govern around safe place to do that. And of course, we want to work together around education, partnership, infrastructure, and making community impact. And with that said, I would like to definitely say thank to everyone, and I would like to give the floor back to Fad, just in case I'm running out of time, and I'm more than happy to take any questions whenever possible. So thank you so much, folks, for your attention, and it's been a pleasure to share this with you, and hope that you learned something out of it. Thank you.